Hello, America. It's Al at It's Happening Out, America's most popular live gay talk show. We have our first ever, and I think incredible, special show broadcast for you. This show is called Gay Father's Day, a Stonewall story. Everybody knows that Father's Day is coming up, and we decided we wanted to explore what Father's Day meant in the gay community. Let me set some parameters. When we started to discuss what Father's Day meant to our production team, we realized that Father's Day was not a holiday that we celebrated in equality with Mother's Day. All of the gay guys, especially men, seem to celebrate their mothers and Mother's Day much more vigorously than men and Father's Day. And it got us thinking, why is that? And then from that, it got us thinking that maybe there's a lot of issues in terms of what we think about fatherhood and the celebration of Father's Day. And hence, this special, Gay Father's Day, a Stonewall story. I want to introduce our panelists for our show, of our special show. First, Frank Garcia, here on my right, your left. Frank is the creative director at It's Happening Out, and he is how we label a gay son whose parents are Cuban, came from Cuba during and post-revolution, and had many difficulties in the acceptance of his Latino-Cuban family. Next, we have Orlando Loli, and Mr. Loli is Peruvian and an American citizen, and he is a straight father who is the father of the executive producer of It's Happening Out. And Orlando raised his son in a situation where in Peru and in the Latino community, there were difficulties in terms of how you raised your son, especially when you find out he is gay, as it relates to the Latin community and especially the church. Then we have Aaron Phoenix sitting here with me, and of course all of you, America, know Aaron. Aaron is one of the most famous trans activists in America and a co-host with me on It's Happening Out. And Aaron's story, which you might only superficially know, is very interesting in this special of a Gay Father's Day because it is an FTM trans gay male who is in a partnership with another man, and his partner has a biological 11-year-old son that Aaron is raising. So I imagine we're going to talk about many interesting challenges in Father's Day with Aaron. Next, we have Leor Barak, and Leor Barak is a married gay dad from Israel, and he was married to a woman and has a biological child that he has joint custody of. And his daughter, his teenage daughter, lives in Toronto with her biological mother. I'm getting lots of these words wrong because we already can realize there's lots of definitions of gay as it relates to Father's Day. And finally, we have Michael Oparka with us. He was married to a woman and divorced, and he is now married also. And he has a biological adult son that is 22 years old, and his
25.
No, 25. You've just aged yourself 3 years, Michael. A biological adult son who has turned out to be gay. So, as you can see, we have many interesting stories here of what we're going to explore on Gay Father's Day, a Stonewall story. First off, welcome to It's Happening Out to all of you.
Thank you.
I want to begin by asking you the question of what does Father's Day, before we get into any specifics, what does it mean to some of you? Tell me what Father's Day means to you.
Well, Father's Day is very precious for me right now. My father has Alzheimer's, and so every Father's Day now is a special, even more special and even more poignant, because I want to make sure that every special Father's Day moment is forever not only seared into his mind, but in mine as well. So they're very precious to me now. Yeah.
I'm sorry about your father's medical situation. Somebody else tell me, what is Father's Day?
For me, it's not that special because unfortunately I lost my father when I was very young, 8 years old, and I'm one of 10 siblings.
10 children.
So my entire Father Day or Mother Day have been dedicated to my mother for that reason.
Do you think, I'm curious to add specifically to you, do you think about Father's Day as you being the recipient?
I don't know if I understand your question correctly, but that influenced me when my son was growing up.
Yeah.
I wanted to make sure he had a father.
Yeah. Okay. Somebody else. What does Father's Day mean to you?
Father's Day is kind of actually, I'm kind of unique. It's a big deal in my family and always has been. My mother passed away when I was 6, and I was raised by my father. And I care for my father now. He's going to be 91 this month, and he's been with me for the last 9 years. I've been caring for him. So Father's Day's been a yearly thing for us. My son, I've had him for 25 years, so it's kind of a multi-generation day for us. So it's always been, an important part of our family. Never really, I'm unique. Mother's Day wasn't a big part of it for me because that was the cards that we were dealt,
And in terms of what you say, Michael, is Father's Day a happy holiday?
Yeah, absolutely.
Is it a happy holiday for your son?
I would think so, yeah.
Yeah? Okay. Leor, what do you think?
I don't have much to say about it other than, I'm not in that good terms with my father. And today, going through what I'm going through with my daughter, it's kind of not a celebratory situation either. So
Father's Day is not a celebration for you?
I have the pride that I had my daughter, obviously. But, if she texts me this year, I'll be happy about it. But up until this year, everything was great. I did like Father's Day as a father, as a recipient, but not so much.
Yeah,
with
we're
my
going
own
to come
father.
back to that. But the major point there is Father's Day is not a real celebration for you because of gay relationship, your husband.
I guess so.
Yeah, interesting.
I
Aaron, how about you? What's Father's Day?
Well, Father's Day has never been celebratory for me either. I had a terrible relationship with my father. I haven't spoken to him in about 15 years. So this year, being this will be the first Father's Day that I spend in a family situation where I'm parenting. And it's new territory, uncharted territory, and a little nerve-wracking. So I'm not sure. I'm hoping it will be a celebration this year, and we'll kind of see.
Well, as we can see right off the bat, relationship with father or relationship as father with their children is a difficult one, probably at best. And we're hitting right to the point of why we're doing this special. Of course, the coming out moment is always the big one among gay men. So let's begin. We want to show you a video. The very famous internet star, the YouTube star Tariq Ali, came out to his father live in conversation. And we want to show you a few minutes of what that moment was. Watch. The coming out story. Watch this.
I don't feel like who I am and what I have branded and what I stand for on my YouTube and stuff, and as this image that I am, I don't feel like it's right for me to tell people to go out and to be as confident as they are and to be who they are, and then I'm not even really being that at the place that it matters most. Why you laughing? Why you laughing?
Because you've always been who you are.
Yeah.
No matter what. You've always been.
Yeah.
Have you not?
Yeah.
Okay. I hear you. I hear where you're going.
I just want to make so I just wanted to say, I've never said this to you. I think it's just always been an understanding.
True.
You know where this is going?
Yeah.
Well, I just want to say,
my son is gay. Is that where you're going?
Yes, I am gay.
Okay. So it takes me to, why wouldn't you know how I would take it?
I knew how you would take it, I just wasn't ready for that. I think, like I said, I think not only being gay, but also being a black man. Like, it's already a lot against you being a black man. And then as being a black man and then being gay on top of that, it makes it hard. Okay? And
But you do know that God prepared me for this a long time ago.
I do.
Okay.
I told myself I wasn't gonna cry. Good thing it's a silent cry. That's cute, you know?
You know I was prepared for this a long time ago.
I do.
You know,
I do.
Things that happened in my life, and then your Uncle James, who ended up being one of my best friends, right?
Tell people who Uncle James is.
Uncle James was one of my best friends. I met him when I first got into recovery, and he was my ace. He was from New Jersey, and we started hanging out real tight.
Mm-hmm.
And one day we was riding in the car, and he told me, he said, "Ron, I can't live this lie anymore." I'm like, "What?" He said, "Man, I'm gay." And so I was put in a place right then where this was a guy who I loved, who was my man, my ace. What do I do because he's gay? Do I turn my back and leave? And that's not what happened, And so, he passed now. He passed from complications from AIDS. And I really miss him.
And when was this?
When did he
19
pass?
what?
That was 93.
93. So this is literally right after the epidemic with AIDS and HIV and everything.
Right.
Especially in the gay community.
Right.
I know it's familiar, very familiar to you as the viewing audience and many of us here at the table. Frank, I'm curious, being a gay son of Cuban parents, rejection of being gay took place a long time. Tell us a little bit about that partnership. Well, what happened in your story?
Well, my particular story is not uncommon in the gay Latin community. I think across the board, it doesn't matter what Latin country you're from. It's a hyper-masculine society. And so my father was brought up to be a priest. He was actually in the seminary when he met my mother, and so we were brought up in the church, very much so, 2-3 times a week, Catholic church, whether it was youth groups or masses or whatever, we were there. I always knew as a child that I wasn't quite like the other boys.
Did your parents know?
Yes, my parents corrected me all that time. They were always, "Stop sissying that walk. You better straighten up, boy. Walk right." But that was always my mother. It wasn't my father. My father, I had the really interesting experience that my mother was the disciplinarian in my family, and my father was the caring, nurturing one. And so my father never laid a hand on me, although my mother was always the one that was straighten up, act like a man, talk like a man, was drilled to me through that.
How long was your relationship?
My relationship with my ex-partner was 22 years.
22 years. How long did it take your parents, specifically your father, to accept your relationship?
You know what? My father said something very interesting, which was, I will respect your relationship, but I do not accept your relationship, which always confused the hell out of me, because how can you respect something if you don't accept it? And so he was always very cordial to my ex. My ex was treated very well. Of course, then I also had the proviso that whoever I bring into this household is not going to be treated poorly. So if you want to see me here, you have to accept them and treat them well. Also, additionally, my family, my relationship was the most stable one in the family. Everyone else had been divorced 3 or 4 times. I had been together with my partner for 22 years.
It's really interesting. In terms of children in gay circles, gay relationships, you could be married and have biological children. You can adopt children, or you can have surrogacy, which is your point in terms of the divorces of siblings as opposed to your long-term relationship. And we want to show you an example of fatherhood in the gay community. This beautiful story about 2 dads and their surrogacy of the birth of their twins. It is quite emotional, a beautiful story. Watch this.
We're just kind of getting them settled, and then they'll bring them right over to you.
Okay.
Congratulations.
Oh my gosh, thank you. I can barely open it.
Everyone's like, ta-da!
Are you still recording?
Yeah.
We got them both set up.
Oh,
Well, I'll get out of the way then. Do you want me to tell you the way?
yeah.
So A was smaller, and A is who? Everest. I want to say they were 5, I believe 5'8" and 5'15".
Okay, that's fine.
And then I have her
That's good.
security tag and all the best. I'm not letting her walk inside.
I got it. You'll
Yeah. That's a grip still.
Yeah, he was feeling a little faint.
Oh,
Yeah, but then as soon
as she said they're born, I was like,
Oh,
okay.
I'm ready.
Yeah.
They came quick, 2 months apart.
yeah.
You have any pain, girl, I want you to tell me, okay? Oh, I am wonderful. I am happy. Duromorph, the Toradol, and the fentanyl.
Like one of the big two.
Winner. I just picked out this one.
No.
All good. Yeah,
come on in.
This is a good anesthesiologist, and he wanted you to be pain-free. So there you go. There you go. I know, right?
So this is actually Everest, and this is Axel. Oh, they're precious.
They're beautiful.
Alright, so let's get this. Congratulations. What do you guys are making me cry?
Okay, this is a tear mouth.
Oh my god, look at her looking good.
They are precious. They're perfect.
Oh, they're so cute.
I love so.
You look so just soaking it.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, they're
I know.
perfect.
That's a cry moment. Yeah. For you too, pregnant girl. Oh, that's so pretty.
Thank you guys so much.
Well, it's a beautiful story, and surrogacy, you watch the joy on their face as it happens. It's an amazing story in terms of fatherhood. One of the things I want to do next is to come to Orlando. And Orlando represents our straight community. And by the way, thank you very much, because we need you to be here, by the way. And Orlando has a child from Peru. I'm curious, in your experience with your son, what was it like when you first realized that your son's gay? What was your experience?
Well, I was the fact that we all know, like Frank said, we're coming from Latin America. There was a no-no for gay people, absolutely. Peru, Ecuador, I'm sure Cuba, etc. But since I lost my father, as I said before, through an accident, I was 8 years old. I grew up without a father. And when I said, I promised when I have my son, he has to have a father. I'm repeating myself. So I watched him since he was a baby, not thinking about being gay or anything. I watched him, you have food, you have this, you have that, you have to have everything. But due to that caring, I guess, or my good luck that I was surrounded by professional doctors in medicine, I exchanged, because I noticed that at the age of 5 or 6, he has certain mannerisms.
You began to realize your son was gay at 5 or 6 years old.
And I said, maybe it's my over-fathering, over-loving.
That you were causing him to be gay?
No, that I was exaggerating. He's acting normally.
Ah, okay.
By the age of 8 or 9, as I say, thanks to people in the medical field, I started exchanging ideas without saying who he was, because they were Latin. Even those doctors, I couldn't say my son. So I started sending him, probably Darren doesn't even know or remember, to psychologists. And they said, he has some mannerism. And they started to teach me about what being gay is all about. At the age of 12, I realized that those psychologists didn't know enough about being gay. Because I was watching my son grow up But I was told by my religion, by being Latin, I said, no. If you can change him, it will be better for him. Not for me, but for him, because of society. And so then it happened to be when he was, then I was worried about him being bullied. And it happened.
So your acceptance of your gay son comes in a manifestation that you want to try to help him prevent being gay because it would be better for him.
Oh, yeah. That was my bringing myself.
I understand in your story, your son was in New Orleans and Katrina came, and it was a very close call for him and in escaping in very close order. I understand in my pre-interview with your son that lots of things changed with you and him after Katrina.
Yes, but by then he had come to us and he confessed, and when he came to us and said, Papi, Mommy, I'm gay, I embraced him. I knew it. I had known it. Then I realized, yes, I was rising. He was 5 years old, 6 years old, 8 years old, and being bullied in the school and so on. I said, all I had to do is embrace him. And it's okay. Of course, he was crying because I'm
in
Latin.
that vein, and I think one of the stories of Gay Father's Day has to be the straight fathers that come to embracement. It is a very difficult situation. I feel that immediately from you. We found, and we're going to show you some celebrations of Father's Day all over the world. And the first one we're going to show you is in Ireland. And this specific thing that we're going to show you in celebration of Father's Day has to do, and I thought of you, Orlando, of what straight fathers did in Dublin for their gay sons. Watch this.
My name is Stephen. I've been working in Dublin Bus since 1982, and we are going to pick up people for the Pride Parade. And we're going to have the proud fathers on the bus.
How are you, Stephen?
Good to see you.
You would not in a million years get me to sit down with a shirt like this one time. As for the braces, no chance.
It's probably a thing that I wouldn't go to, but I think we shouldn't be closed to ideas like that.
The initial reaction, I think, will be total and utter shock. He's not expecting this at all. Good morning, Liam. My reaction will probably be just a hug. Emotional now, we've been talking about it.
This is her first Pride Festival after telling everybody that she is gay.
I thought you were on holiday!
It's a very important step.
Anybody would be delighted to have one gay son, but to have two, I'd impress anybody with that story.
I hope to have a defibrillator in here because I think I'm going to need it.
Good morning, my friend.
Oh my God.
They're incredible guys. Like I just love.
Well, I'm quite sure that there's no gay guy in America that wouldn't want that moment. We showed that in production, and it was a very emotional experience in terms of how we think about our straight fathers. This is the most difficult one that I watched. My father's been passed for 5 years. I worked my entire life to have that acceptance and never had it. And so that's the most emotional moment for me, because regardless of our situations, if your straight father is still alive, there's opportunity for you, which is, I think, what we're exploring. Aaron, I want to come to you. You are a very unusual situation. FTM, gay man in a gay relationship with a man that has a biological son at 11 years old. I imagine in raising and helping to raise that 11-year-old Lucas is a problematic and interesting and loving but complicated situation. Tell us a little about that.
Very. Complicated is the best possible word you could use for it, especially because of, like with your father, I never got that acceptance. So I know from right out the gate that, of course, I want to be as supportive of Luke as possible in everything. And being that he's a very theatrical, artistic kid, he kind of was drawn to me right away before he even knew that me and his father were in a relationship. So that kind of gave me hope from the beginning. But and he's got a great heart. He's very accepting. Once we told Luke that we were in a relationship, he's basically said, as long as my dad is happy, then I'm happy.
That's beautiful.
Yeah, for an 11-year-old, that's a big deal. So he, it's just a little complicated, I think, for him, because he now has a closet to come out of. Even though he's not gay that we know of yet, he hasn't really expressed anything as far as that goes. But he would have to, in order to tell his friends about us, in order to have, for example, me over to a school function or to have me pick him up from a friend's house, would require him to say, this is my dad's boyfriend, or this is my other dad, or something along those lines. And we don't want to push him to come out of that closet any more than we would if he were gay himself.
Right.
So for me, it's kind of, it's a little bit painful in a way, because I have to let him lead the way on that. And sometimes that means taking a back seat.
Aaron, in our pre-interview, Aaron shared with me a number of very beautiful stories and the complications of what fatherhood means for an Aaron Phoenix. You said to me recently that Lucas had a friend over to your house, and he introduced you as his father's friend.
Yeah.
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 How did that feel?
He, they were running around the house. I had just come home, and they came in, and he said, "Oh, there he is. That's my dad's roommate." And very proudly introduced me as I choked back tears and, kind of got through it. And I had to accept the fact that that's what he's comfortable with. It was really...
How difficult is it to be in a situation where you want to celebrate being the father, but you don't have it's not within your capability to extend the fatherhood? How must that feel?
It's rough, it's rough. I take on, y'all gonna make me cry through this whole thing. I take on all of the responsibilities of fathering, of, everything from washing underwear to picking up, rooms and all of that. And being there for, to talk, being there in all the ways that I would have wanted my father to support me. So I go above and beyond to try and do all of that, and yet it's hard to have to take that back seat and accept that he's not ready. But I also have to remember that there was a time when I wasn't ready. I've never actually officially come out to my father as trans. So I have to kind of accept it. Sometimes being a parent, part of being a parent, I'm sure you all know, means dealing with some things that are a little painful sometimes, and being kind of the shock absorber for some things so that they have the best environment that they can grow in.
I want to, and I appreciate you sharing that story, because I can't imagine the complication of what goes on in your house, especially when Father's Day rolls around. It's going to be it's very complicated. I saw a video that came from Canada in celebration of Father's Day, and I thought about you in terms of the process of adoption of children. Very prominent. Watch this.
Absolutely. And I said, ooh, I guess I should call Sandy for that. But I said, I'll tell you for sure the answer's going to be yes.
On behalf of everybody at It's Happening Out, I congratulate our production team. They have put together some incredible visual imagery of Gay Father's Day, and I congratulate them for what they did. I want to move to Leor Barak here. Leor, your story, I've just met you today. You're an entrepreneur here in Wilton Manors, which we affectionately call the gayest place on planet Earth. You're in ground zero. Your story for Father's Day and Gay Father's Day is interesting to me because of the difficulty of your relationship with your father and the difficulty of your relationship with your biological daughter, both because of being gay. Tell us a little bit about that.
Well, actually, I can relate to you a lot with, your child kind of being embarrassed or ashamed of whatever it is. In my case, I got divorced 10 years ago, over 10 years ago now. I've had several gay relationships since. I was out of the closet when we met, so that was out there. And recently I married my husband after almost a 4-year relationship. My daughter knew him. My ex-wife knew him. They spent time with him. And suddenly something happened with my ex-wife, and she didn't like the idea, and my daughter is suddenly telling me that she's embarrassed to come to Florida to visit me. She doesn't...
Because you're gay?
Because she's, embarrassed from her friends. That's the story I'm getting at this point. But saying that, she also stopped communicating with me. She stopped communicating with my brother, who's straight, who has his own kids, my nephews, her cousins. And it was just complete blackout for my daughter. And I've been trying to get in touch with her and texting her. People gave me advice to text her every other week just to give her space. She wasn't responding. I'm traveling to Canada now. I've gotten, because I'm Canadian, I just recently got my travel permit to go abroad. And I'm trying to fly out there and do my best to fight for her. And by fighting, I mean contact her, let her know I'm actually there. I'd love to see her, even if it's a half an hour. And I'm hoping that she doesn't reject me. But like you said as well, sometimes you have to take the bumps.
Well, we wish you all of the luck in terms of making that connection. And at the other end of your family string is your parents. I understand your parents, you're Israeli by birth. Your parents are Russia and Russian. And Russia doesn't have the best human rights position on gay. Tell us about that relationship.
That's also reminiscent for what you were saying with your parents. My mom was the one who was actually more anti. My father didn't speak much of it, but he just stopped talking to me when I came out after I got divorced from my ex-wife. That was my second coming out, so to speak, because my ex-wife knew I was gay. I was out to my friends, just not my family. But when he found out I'm divorcing because I'm gay, he stopped talking to me. Now, my mom did call me and say, is it true? Are you going to marry a man or a woman? And I said, well, if I had to leave her for another woman, then I probably wouldn't want to leave her. And she was like, I'm sorry to hear that. She clicked the phone. We haven't spoken. They came later, apologized. We started working things out, and then things fell apart again. And I just have a feeling it's constantly this gay disappointment.
Well, I wish you all the luck in that, and things will improve both for your child and for your parents.
Thank you.
Father's Day, a lot of Americans do not realize, is not an American holiday. Father's Day is celebrated all over the world in various different ways, and we want to continue to show you examples of that. Let's go to Thailand, and this interesting commercial that has appeared in Thailand about Father's Day. Watch this.
แล้วโยมคิดจะมีลูกกันไหม
I think this is a beautiful video in terms of relationship in Thailand, and it brings me to our final guest on our special for Gay Father's Day, and that's Michael O'Parker. And Michael's story is also very interesting to me in that he was married. How long were you married, Michael?
We were actually married for 4 years.
4 years, and you were together in total?
8 years.
And you had a biological son.
Correct.
And you've corrected me, and you've aged yourself significantly, that your biological son is 25 years old. And you're looking great for the extreme age of what you represent, Michael. And your biological son has turned out, as you indicated to me, is gay. When you found out your son was gay, when he came out to you, What was your reaction to that?
Well, it was kind of an unusual situation. He actually came out to his mother first. At that time, he was primarily living with his mother. We lived in a small town, and I had moved away to the nearest city. And I would have him every weekend, and we'd go back and forth. But his school was in the town, so he was primarily living with his mother. But like I said, I was there every weekend. So he told her first, and we both kind of suspected, I don't know exactly how she felt about it, but as far as suspecting, but she was fine. She was like, I kind of figured that, and it was pretty simple. And me and my partner, we had been together for several years after my divorce. He had a painting business and he traveled. So we were doing a big job in Naples, Florida at the time. Sean was 15, my son. He literally and it was going to be like a 3-week job in Florida. So he waited until I went to Florida, and then he called me to tell me, because he said he was more nervous about telling me than he was his mother.
And why is that? I don't understand.
Well, what he told me was,
gay son is nervous to tell gay father.
And he knew I was gay. He knew my partner. He was a part of my life every day, He said that apparently at some point in time I had talked about having grandchildren. I'm sure I did. I don't remember the conversation in passing.
He was afraid he was going to disappoint you.
I don't know, because it was never really that emotionally intense, and he just was nervous. I don't really know why. He's never really explained it to me. So my reaction to it at the moment was, okay, first of all, I know. Does your mother know? He says yes. And then you told her first? And he's like, yes. And I said, so why did you wait for me to be 1,500 miles away to tell me this? You could have told me before I left or waited until I got back. He goes, I was just nervous.
Yeah, it's very interesting to me because Michael's story is so reflective in the gay community of the fear of disappointment. You're going to be unhappy with the story that I tell you. And what's interesting to me is it doesn't matter whether you're straight or gay, it's that same anxiety and fear. Mm-hmm. And that's what made us go to Japan for Father's Day. A very interesting commercial appeared from McCafe for a coffee commercial. And it talks about your exact point about the anxiety of sharing being gay. Watch this. Wow. Just wow. It's what every gay person, every trans person, every straight person, acceptance is really all we're asking for. A beautiful commercial from Japan. Another interesting Father's Day message came to us from Korea in Asia. And we want to show you their Father's Day message. Watch this.
Si Daddy.
Oh, Kevin, bakit hindi mo pa ina-accept ang friend request ko?
Break barriers for new beginnings.
You're killing me.
Right. Both the messages about fatherhood in Japan and Korea are similar in terms of the need for acceptance. Father's Day is coming. Do you think the gay community can think about Father's Day, that we can get to the point where in the future we're going to approach Father's Day in the same way that we approach Mother's Day? Do you think it can come?
Yeah, I think it's evolving.
I think that day is coming.
Yeah.
I think that that this generation is being raised in a way that is more accepting, and so I pray for that day.
Yeah.
You know,
have to have
it's
hope.
interesting to me, and we hear this in Father's Day stories with gay men, gay children, gay fathers, whatever, straight fathers, straight children, whatever the combination. We frequently hear it is a cultural thing, Latin culture. We hear it's a religious thing, that it is church. We want to show you something in terms, the very nature of that message of not acceptance is because you're not normal. And I think my question and your answers is that there's a different normal coming, and that family relationships and fatherhood can be all kinds of different things, and therefore be wholesome no matter what it is. And look at this amazing commercial from Honey Maid to talk about the wholesomeness of relationships. Watch this.
No matter how things change, what makes us wholesome never will. Honey Maid. Everyday wholesome snacks for every wholesome family. This is
Well,
wholesome.
America, especially gay America, I hope you've enjoyed what we've done here from It's Happening Out, America's most popular live gay talk show. Fatherhood is a complicated issue at best. I think we've explored that from all 5 of these unique stories. Any Father's Day messages that any of you would like to make before we finish?
I'd like to tell my daughter that I love her.
And what's your daughter's name?
Mia Sarah Barak.
And I hope you'll share this video with Mia.
I hope I can.
Any other thoughts?
I want to tell my son that will always be for him, ever.
I think the word hope really echoes with me on this whole segment. We've got to have the hope that we can have better relationships with our kids, and that they will have a better world to live in.
And I think people need to think about what they value in life. There's religion, there's your standing in the community. I really personally believe there's nothing more important to value than your blood, your family, your children, whether they're raised, in a straight family or a gay family, whether they're biological children or adopted children. Just look at your values, because the values is really what gets you through life.
Frank, I come to you last because your father is that. I asked Frank before we did this, is your family going to watch this and see it? And there was some intrepidation. Any message that you have for Father's Day?
Even if my dad saw it, he would probably not understand what was going on. My message for Father's Day is I'm grateful for my father. I'm grateful for every day that I have him. I'm grateful for all the work that he did as a father for me. I had to go ahead and, before he was completely gone, ask him the question, Papi, tú tienes orgullo en mí, which was, Papi, are you proud of me? And he said to me, sí, yes, I always have been, and I always will be.
Oh, beautiful.
And so that was the best father's gift that I had 4 years ago. And every day is Father's Day.
Very nice.
Every day is Father's Day.
Well, America, we hope you've enjoyed this special Gay Father's Day Stonewall story. We make the connection that as we move to our Stonewall celebration of 50th anniversary, you don't have to be famous, you don't have to be a marcher, you just have to continue to propel the gay story along. And it can be as simple or as complicated as being a father. So, as we end this special, we come back to America. And, we want to show you a beautiful commercial that, of all places, is done by Chevrolet. And Chevrolet's slogan is the proud heartbeat of America. Look what Chevrolet said.
They are the ones we trust with our most secret secrets, who are always there when we need them. They are family. And while what it means to be a family hasn't changed, what a family looks like has. This is the new us. Chevrolet Traverse, with the highest possible overall vehicle score for safety, for whatever shape your family takes.
It says it perfectly. This is the new family. Gay Father's Day, happy Father's Day from everyone at It's Happening Out. Thank you, America.